Hey otakus, you're listening to HeyAnime. I'm Brody Otway, your host, and today we're having Rebecca from the Wolf's Rain episode back to talk Barefoot Gen, which I thought up until this morning was called Barefoot Gen. So I was pronouncing it wrong for probably about a week, but now I know. The manga it's based off of is written by Keiji Nakazawa, a survivor of Hiroshima who used his own experiences to write this graphic novel, basically. Yeah, so Rebecca, what made you choose this to watch of all things?
I guess history to see the huge. I heard about it and saw the graphic details of the animation a few years before, and I heard that you didn't see it yet. So I'm like, let me ruin your childhood.
So I apparently had seen the bomb scene. The minute that happened, I was like, I've seen this part at least. I actually went in thinking it was a different film. I think the one I was thinking of is something Fireflies.
Oh, Graveyard of the Fireflies.
Yes, that has like a little boy and a girl, right?
Yeah, I think that's more on World War I, or maybe it's still
Okay.
World War II, but a different area.
Yeah, I had totally thought I was going into a different movie. And once I seen that bomb scene, I was like, something clicked in my head where it's like, okay, no, I've seen this scene. I have not seen the movie, but this is actually the first thing I've watched on this show where I decided not to watch the dub. And I'm kind of glad I did because I did check out some of the dub scenes afterwards and definitely doesn't have the impact that that subbed version has.
Yeah, totally. Of course, back then dubs were not as well done compared to now.
There's something about those old dubs I love though. Like I'm watching Mobile Fighter G Gundam right now for another episode with Jordan from Shonen Flop, and I am loving it. Just it's got that 80s, 90s corniness that is just I don't know. I love something about the dubbing. Like some of the voices are so on point, and then some of them are just so wildly out there that it's like, okay, that was a choice there.
Yeah, there are those choices, but some of them it does work for the animation. Like Ghost Stories, you gotta love that dubbing.
Yeah, that came up in a conversation last night with a buddy, and he hates ghost stories apparently. But me and my friends used to have a drinking game with that anime where we'd take a sip every time something politically incorrect was said, and it usually ended with us pretty drunk.
Sounds about right.
Yeah, I actually decided to check out a bit of the manga as well on my lunch break today, and I found the movie did kind of lighten things up a bit compared to the manga. And the only part of the movie I didn't like actually wasn't in the manga, so I was a little bit surprised.
Oh, you want to build more on that? I didn't read the manga.
So the bombing scene, it's a bit less repetitive and stuff. Like it's not everyone's eyes melt out of their head and stuff, and there's no like zombie looking part where all the radiated people are basically walking like zombies and stuff. Once it hit the part of the like I was in shock through the whole bombing scene, and then the part where they're like shambling like zombies, it kind of took me out of it there for a moment. I was kind of like, I don't think that's what would necessarily happen in an explosion. And like the rest of that scene just felt so like it was driving everything in that it felt like it was almost meant to be levity, weird, macabre way.
True. It's hard to really say, but for me, it was maybe my understanding because you said that the person was a survivor of Hiroshima. Maybe this is their mind's interpretation of what they saw when they saw the skin was melting off the bodies, and that was their interpretation of zombies, and putting that into film for the viewers to understand this is from a child's perspective.
Yeah, I could definitely see that being a choice. I'm curious because I don't know how involved the mangaka was with the movie exactly. So that would be interesting to know because, like, if it was his ideas to put those things in, that is pretty interesting. And I'm curious because a lot of the movie condenses the first 2 or 3 volumes, I think. I only made it through the first two there, and I couldn't find the third one easily, so I didn't try. But yeah, it definitely condensed a lot. It was definitely you got me the closest to shedding a tear that anyone has on this podcast yet. I was told that Violet Evergarden was going to make me cry, and it didn't, but this got me pretty damn close. When you involve children and war, those are like my two real things that kind of jerk my emotions a lot of the time. And this had both of those. So, like, congrats. You wrecked me. Like, I needed a minute after this movie. I was like, wow, this is heavy.
Yeah, if you've seen Oppenheimer, the American live action movie, I was out now comparing the story of telling of that with when I rewatched this movie too. Realizing how they were saying, oh, they went and bombed this location because they like to go and vacation there. So they were actually still choosing. Yeah, it was in the movie Oppenheimer where they were choosing where they're going to bomb it because of the rich people deciding, oh, I go there for vacation. I don't want that to be affected. And that's why those places were chosen based on rich people's vacation spots and they don't go to those
Jesus.
locations.
Yeah, and I learned so much more about Hiroshima after watching this. Like, I ended up watching a Hiroshima well, listening to one while I was doing my job today, and like the Japanese government was really shitty in that they knew it was going to be bombed and they didn't warn any of the people.
Yeah. Or because they couldn't do anything about it, it's hard to know, or they didn't really understand what was going to happen because it's hard to really know because we have the foresight to look back onto this
Yeah.
horrifying incident in history to wonder. And of course, it's not even one bomb, it was two bombs.
Yeah, Fat Man and Little Boy. Like, what odd names for weapons of mass destruction, almost as if like it was just like silly thing to them. Like, they're just such weird names for things that are so deadly.
Yeah, still horrifying history and everything. Like that's why I kind of recommended it because I think more people seeing it now understand really my own fear about what's going on with our own politics is like this is why we should not be going to war because of the nuclear bombs everyone does have and it's like do you not see what the effects really are because they are not reported in our history books like even in World War II they were more focused on the smaller things versus the bomb itself and showing us as children the effects of radiation poisoning to the land.
Yeah, like when we covered World War II in school, we barely touched on the bombings. It was mostly like battles. I'm in Canada, so it was a lot of like, oh, these are the battles Canada was involved in, and then these are the major battles America fought in. And like, we barely touched on the Japanese. Like, it was all about Germany and focused, and like, Japan was just like blip in the radar in our thing. Like, it was like, yeah, they were on the Axis sides. And that was basically all we were taught about it. And the fact that America dropped the bombs and we were not at all taught about like the fallout of it or the anything or, and oh, there's so many scenes still stuck in my head. Like, the picking the maggots out of the other boys' wounds, and there's just everything in this movie just gut punch after gut punch, and like they're treating it so lightly when he's pulling the maggots out and stuff, and it to them it's just life, but it's so sad.
Yeah, there was a lot of humanity in that movie as well because it showed the artist getting himself back up. Like he lost everything and still found ways to try and figure out how to hold a paintbrush again using his teeth
Yeah, and
to try and bring back his normancy.
yeah, and like so when I seen he had some radiation poisoning and was losing his hair, I was so ready for this movie to end with him dying. And got even sadder than that. Like when they go out and they start earning some money to get the powdered milk for the baby, and then they come home and like you already know the baby's gone and they're celebrating, and then it shows the mom, and oh, that is the part that almost got me. I was like, I don't know if I can keep watching this. Is it going to get worse? Like, I was like, this has to be as bad as it gets. Otherwise, I am going to be a wreck. And I was watching it. I watched it on my lunch break a few days ago. And so I'm just like, oh my God, I should have waited till after work to watch this. And like my boss, when I went back into the kitchen and stuff, because I was working in the kitchen here that day, he's just like, dude, are you okay? You seem off. You're not your chatty self. And I was just like, I just watched a really sad movie and I can't stop thinking about it.
I did warn you.
Yeah. I thought I was tough enough. I went into this being like, I've never cried at a movie other than one. And I was like, I'll be fine. Two, but the other one doesn't count because it was situational. It wasn't the movie itself, it was memories that made me cry. So I don't count that one because it was the opening crawl of a Star Wars movie. So that don't count.
But yeah, this movie is very heart-wrenching and very political and really starts off very light saying, "Oh, where are they going to end this? Is that really like there's more of the starvation that was really starting off with it with showing about the what the war was about and then leading on to the bigger parts."
Yeah, and how like ostracized their father was for not supporting the war. He was seen as a traitor and unpatriotic simply because he didn't believe in the fighting and stuff. And that's so wild. And the manga goes even deeper. Like in the movie, it felt like his father wasn't really public with his opinions. So I think I'm a bit mixing the manga in now. But in the manga, he was very vocal, and like the whole family was treated like complete garbage just because the father didn't support the war. And it's just so wild to think that, like, simply because you don't support fighting, that it would ruin your entire life like that. I feel like we've kind of moved past that in the West here, but I'm curious to know if in Japan, if something like this were to happen again, if they would feel that way. Because I know they're a lot more honor based over there and stuff. And here it's a lot more like if you're not supporting the war, people might see you as slightly unpatriotic or something, but it's not seen as like a huge shame on you.
It's hard to say because the war that is going on in other countries are still affecting us, like the people that are coming here and what they've seen, and then comparing it to what they just went through to us living like it's a huge cultural shock for them for what they've gone through to come here.
Oh, I can imagine.
Yeah, like I can see why they're angry and then upset and want the war that's happening over there to end. And I don't even know what to do to help or anything like that.
No, and it's wild the times we're living in right now. And like, I never really thought about what if bombs drop and stuff. And like, this movie really, really made me think about that stuff, especially because like my home city is probably one of the few places in Canada that would probably get bombed and stuff. We've got a major airport, we've got grain elevators, one of the major ports in Canada. We're not a huge city, but like, if shit hits the fan huge and Canada's involved, my home is very much a potential bombing site, which has never been a thought in my mind until I watched this movie.
And of course, nothing is set up for even war bunkers and everything like that for us if it comes to that.
Oh, especially in Canada, like we've taken the fact that like everybody kind of leaves us be for granted. And now, like with Donald Trump kind of talking about all this crazy shit, like when he was talking about annexing Canada and stuff, it was kind of like, well, like, yeah, we can fight a ground war. We've always been great at that. Like, Canadians are known for being friggin' war crime committing crazy people in war, but that was a long time ago before all the technology and everything like that. Like if America were to decide to bomb us, like we have some of the most advanced fighter jets, but we have a very small amount of them. Like it doesn't matter how much better planes we can build if we don't have enough people to fly them.
Yeah, no, and there is that, and it's crazy to see how much is drones as well, like drone war, since we are moving through to technology bases, so be on pilots. So then it'd be the more of the loss will be the civilians than actually the soldiers themselves.
Yeah, and it's just crazy because like when I was watching all the stuff on the news when Ukraine was everywhere early on. It was like that was my first kind of wake up to like, oh my God, like this kind of war still exists. The wars in the Middle East always kind of felt way off and just not something that would really affect us here in Canada and stuff. And we were very, very little involved. Like we were supporting America and other countries in their wars, but like this has kind of been my wake up to call to be like, holy shit, yeah, if another world war happens, this could be really bad for everybody.
But I know Canada's also won't be like they won't really attack us with the biggest stuff because we have too much clean water. That's one of the biggest benefits of what we are. But at the same time, it's also the greatest risk of why people want us.
Yeah, yeah, because like in Canada, we've got like, I think it's like 70% of the world's clean water and stuff. So yeah, like people would probably be hesitant to drop nukes and stuff, especially I guess I didn't think like I'm right off Lake Superior, one of the biggest bodies of fresh water. So that could be a reason to not drop that kind of stuff there. But when if somebody like Donald Trump who doesn't think things through, that's where it gets scary.
Yeah. Like the people who are even backing him up, like letting some of these things that are happening, like some people who are aware are posting like what are the things that are changing and making screenshots of everything that is part of their constitution that's now being removed. It's crazy how things are. Some people are actually moving forward still, some of the states, but some of the states that are not really seeing the full picture. It's insane what's going on
It really is.
with our neighbors.
So, what do you think your favorite scene in the movie was?
I guess my favorite scene was, spoiler alert, the hair growing back in the end because it was more of the land did grow back in Hiroshima as well in actual history and everything. So it's like seeing it and seeing that, oh my God, that shrine that still stands to this day after the hit. It's showing the resistance of it all too, of nature too.
Yeah, and like just the symbolism of them seeing the wheat growing and just knowing that like yeah, things can get better, things can recover, but like it takes time.
Yeah. That kind of gives like a reason for hope and an aspiration. And by me, it's suggesting this movie is also in hope to make sure we don't repeat history. So the more normal people also know of the history of Hiroshima and the horrors of it and the graphic details is done in the drawings or even being read in the manga should hopefully help people become more aware of what could be.
Yeah, and with 1983 film there, what do you feel about the replacement brother? I've kind of felt it was a little bit like weird how like they kind of just taken this kid who reminds them of their other son. Like I get like they were doing a good thing and everything, but it felt they just like I don't know, it felt like they used him as a replacement and it was I don't know. I felt weird watching that part.
I think for me, approaching it by looking at another thing, the mother did temporarily lose her mind by watching her family burn to death and them going through so much loss. And then here comes a kid, and they did say, oh, this could be our brother. He could be a replacement. Like they weren't hiding the fact that they were using him as a replacement because he was so identical to the original brother. They didn't hide that fact.
And that's the part I found kind of that's the part that weirded me out. I couldn't imagine like if one of my kids were to pass and I found one that looked like him to just be like, "Okay, you're the new one."
Nature does it all the time, like the emperor penguins. When they lose their baby, they actually try and steal other babies' chicks.
Really?
I think I watched that in the Emperor Penguin series with Morgan Freeman's voice.
Oh my god, I don't remember that part, but I definitely remember watching that when I was a teacher's assistant up in the Northwest Territories. I put it on for the kids specifically because Morgan Freeman was in it, and none of those kids knew who Morgan Freeman was, and I was like, "What?"
Yeah, that's a quite a shocker. That voice, you cannot miss Morgan Freeman's voice.
No, no, it's great. So, have you seen the Barefoot Gen 2 for the 1986 film?
No, it's on my to-do list. I should have been watching that.
Yeah, I didn't get a chance to check it out either. I was just curious if you had so I could get your thoughts on it a bit. After checking out the first couple volumes there, if I can find the rest, I'd be really curious to see if it's like more adaptation or if they just did their own thing. Because I honestly, like, in all the research I did until I looked at the Wikipedia page, I did not know there was a sequel. No, none of the videos or anything I watched after I watched the movie really talked about sequels. It was all just either the manga or the first film.
Yeah, maybe because it did more stronger than the second film. Like, some movies just disappear when they don't get as much attention.
Yeah, I'm curious if it's because that bombing scene has become kind of out there and just more known than the film itself, if that's more why that first one is more well known. Because, like I said, like I had no idea about this movie, but I had seen that bombing scene.
Hmm.
I just didn't know what it was from up until I seen this.
Yeah. For me, it was the zombies. I've seen trailers for that, which when I saw them, I was like, oh my goodness, they put zombies into this? I was completely confused because, as you said, our school did not go into the radiation poisoning or any of that into the details. So that was my first time seeing more of an idea of what that actually entailed with when the bombs hit. And it's like, holy shit. Sorry for the language. We can probably
Oh, you
beep that
swear
out.
away. Oh, no, you're allowed to swear on here as much as you want.
It was really surprising, and I liked the details of showing the horse being on fire and the dog dying, and the details of how slow it is. Like, you even see after the mother loses her child and falls off her back, she's coming to her knees and still trying to protect it. Like, even after all that radiation, there's still part of her that was trying to protect and shield her child, like that mother instinct, even though they were both dead because of how fast it happened. They even compute that they were dying.
Yeah, that part of the bombing scene was probably the part that like got me the most. I was just like, "Ooh, that takes balls to show a baby dying on screen." Like the fact that that came out in 1983 blew my mind. I was like, "Wow, like I can't believe they let this get made at that time cuz like things were pretty strict back then as far as like things over here. I guess the anime wasn't as widely released in the West, so maybe there was less thought about that when it was dubbed and stuff. But I feel like when I was a kid, it was very rare to find that kind of like any child death actually put on anything. Even today, they don't let you kill kids in video games and stuff. It's always just kind of been a taboo thing you don't often show here. If you have a dead kid in something, you very often don't show them dying.
Yeah, they didn't really show the kid dying in Sleeping Hollow. Tim Burton got annoyed by seeing always the kid surviving or getting away, so he actually murdered the kid in Sleepy Hollow.
Yeah, and that takes balls that like to actually do that. And I feel like this movie would not have nearly been as impactful unless like without showing that little girl and the baby and stuff. Like that is really what nailed it in. Like if I didn't see that girl having her eyes melted out and stuff, I might have thought it was a little over the top and silly, and that kind of leveled it out for me.
Yeah, it's more showing like the bombs was not attacking actually the soldiers. It was attacking the people who were still trying to live and trying to do the best they could. Like even showing with the starvation how they jumped in and tried to steal koi fish and try to show that it's not even for them, it was for their mother.
Yeah, and the whole thing, like these kids just stayed so positive through all the bullshit, and it made it so much more of a gut punch every time shit happened. Like I couldn't imagine living through that. Like the fact that this is semi autobiographical is like so heart wrenching. I'm so glad he made it through everything to be able to create all this and like share his experience in this way because like I said, it made me think of things I never ever would have considered about like the day and age we're living in now.
Yeah, it's really interesting to even see the time difference too. It's almost been 100 years since that's happened, but that's still our grandparents' lifetime and how much technology has shifted and changed and how we have AC and everything. And it's interesting because not that even long ago when samurai was actually still around too during that period.
Yeah, and it's really crazy and Like, I found it very interesting, one creative choice it made where all the Japanese people were a lot more cartoony looking stuff. And then the American soldiers, they had like a more serious, detailed look. I'm curious if that was meant to kind of show them in a different light or what the purpose of that exactly was.
Hard to know.
I don't know. It was just something that jumped out to me because, like, I was watching it back a few different parts, and when I seen it didn't click the first time, but then I seen it was a video that pointed it out to me, and so I went back and rewatched some of the scenes, and I was like, wow, yeah, the soldiers do look drawn kind of different, and I was like, is it just because they were like, well, we're going to draw the Americans like this so they know they're Americans? Or it's one of those things where like I have so many questions that probably only the creators could answer, and the fact that I can't sit down and ask them irks me a little bit, and they're just questions that are never going to be answered.
Well, they did say that the eyes are to the soul. So maybe they drew them differently to kind of show like they were prepared to take lives. And what they went through and to have that prepared was to kill off bits of their own soul. So that's why they drew them differently to show, and probably more of the horrors that they've seen, because they had to go over and pick up the dead bodies, and you really have to shut yourself down to be able to go through the smells and the sensory and seeing these they're no longer people, so you can actually do what you're supposed to do. And then of course then not knowing radiation, that poor soldier that did was died right there in front of the poor kid.
Yeah, yeah, it was. Oh, and when he comes out of the rubble and he runs up and he grabs her hand, and that was one of the few things I get like he was probably supposed to be in shock, but he just goes, "She's dead," and then walks away. And I was kind of like, I feel like it could have been presented a little bit better, whether he was like in shock or what, if it was just, it felt brushed by a bit to me in that one part.
I think it was maybe in the child's mind. If you think of a child's mind, it's like, she's dead. Oh, wait, my family. And that's where he wants to make a runaway for it, to say, like, he's trying to help a stranger, then realize his own family could be also in something else could be going on.
Yeah, and one of the things I noticed about the movie after reading the manga was they did downsize the family a bit from the manga. So he had, I believe there was an, mixing up some of the details now between the two. I think he had an extra sister who, because of the father being anti war, she gets strip searched at school. And there's all these other things before the bomb drops showing like how awful things are for the family because of the father. And part of it almost made me feel like the manga was like vilifying the father for being anti-war. But then you get to the bomb and it's like, well, no, the dad was right the whole time.
Yeah, it's interesting seeing the different politics and everything between somebody who's pure left wing and right wing, and seeing the difference and not truly understanding, because you want to be with the crowd instead of against the crowd, and seeing how that affects both the family and everything for being this way or that.
Yeah, I mean, I've always kind of been an apolitical person. Like, I have some views that are very left leaning, like very pro LGBTQ, trans rights, women's rights, all that kind of stuff. I think everyone should be equal. And as long as you're not hurting anyone, you should be free to do what you want to do and stuff. But then I also have certain right wing perspectives on specific topics. So I feel like I'm kind of a fence sitter. I can't really choose a side either way. I definitely say I'm more left than right, but like this movie was like, oh, it's so hard to support any kind of war when you see this shit. It's like, why do we have to fight? It's all just land. We're all just people. We should just, like, I don't know. It just makes all this stuff feel so much dumber when you break it all down, and like people just fighting over things like what they believe, like because they have different beliefs. And like, I'm not religious, so I can't really speak for that, but like I could never imagine wanting to kill somebody just because they don't believe what I believe. Like I'm a like bygones be bygones person. So like all of that kind of stuff. It's just like never things I really thought about until actually having to think about it because I'm watching an animated movie. Like, it's wild that a cartoon has made me think more about the consequences of war than seeing everything in the news. Like, everything in the news, they make it kind of feel, it feels like they're trying to pull your heartstrings and stuff, or they're trying to play to a certain way. And then this movie, it just, I went in not being like, okay, it's trying to make me think something, but it did, and very effectively.
Yeah, compared to other movies that come out and talk about the war, it's always showing you like the benefits of war versus the horror. But I did watch the Brigade movie where it gave you more of an idea like that, but not as strong as this because it showed more of the characters are actually based on real people who actually just died trying to do what they were supposed to do. And they did win many of the battles, but then they also lost many people at the same time. And always fighting someone else's war or someone else's battle, but at the same time, why are we even fighting when we could be helping?
Yeah, it's crazy. And I don't know, there's just so much going on now that it's like the whole Russia and Ukraine thing, it's all just over land. And it's like so many people have died and lost their homes. And for what? Because you want to be able to draw a line on a map and make a bit more money because of some resources. Like, it's stupidity. Like, it's pay for stuff. Like, people don't need to die for it. Like, I don't know. It's fucked up.
It is. It's really messed up. And the good news is there are people that are able to see these things and are able to talk about it. And we have this space to be able to talk about it. And animations like this to really show you the details and the horrors of what really happened, to have these discussions.
Yeah, I mean, this is definitely the heaviest Hey Anime episode I've done so far. Like, everything else has just been laughs and giggles, and like, I've not had to face reality while watching a cartoon, I think, in my whole life. Like I said, I've only ever cried at one movie before, and I was, I think, like 10, and it was the movie Simon Birch. And I don't know, something about it made me cry. And I remember my mom looking at me and going, wow, you do have a soul. And I was like, what do you mean? Like, I'm like the most sensitive one of my brothers and stuff. It was just a very weird remark. And she's like, oh, I didn't mean it like that. I just never thought you'd cry at a movie. And I was like, it's so sad. And then, yeah, the only other time other than like this, I wouldn't say I cried, but I was like very, very close by the end. Like, I was like, wow, especially at the baby scene. Like, that was what really got punched me. I was just like, I think I might need to turn this off. And then I was like, no, I'm almost done. I'm almost done. Just power through. And yeah, no, I finished it. And like, the scene at the end where they launched the boat was so cute.
And it shows that life will move on.
Yeah, it's just this movie destroyed me for a bit. Like I said, even my boss was like, you seem off. I didn't think I did. I was just sitting there doing my job, listening to something different to kind of distract. And I guess I just like was sitting there and my vibe was just off, I guess. And he called me out on it. And I was just like, yeah, man, this movie was fucked. And I showed him the bombing scene and he was just like, holy shit. And he's like, when did this come out? And I was like 83. And he's like, really? I was like, I've never heard of this or anything. And he's older than I am. So like, I definitely thought I'd know about this. And I was like, well, yeah, no. And I was like, don't watch it though, dude. Like, you're going to cry. And he's like, yeah, I don't want to cry. So
But yeah, it still has a lot of heart into it for this very graphic, and it does start off really slow, but it's more of showing like this is their day-to-day life before the bomb has happened.
oh, definitely. And like, it would not have worked without that stuff like that. It just shows you all the day to day, and you start, it's like, okay, yeah, we're following these kids. And like, if you go into the movie with no knowledge of that bombing scene, it's quite the jarring shift. It shows the plane, the sparkle, and then like the map view of it just coming down and boom. And I was instantly like, oh my God. Oh my God, this movie. And every time it got worse and worse, I was like, okay, Okay, yeah, this is a lot, and I definitely can't say I would outright recommend it, but like if you feel like you can handle that kind of stuff, I would definitely say it's worth the watch. But unlike a lot of the other things I've watched here, it's not something I would heavily recommend you listeners go out and watch. Maybe check out the bomb scene. It's everywhere on YouTube. And if that doesn't deter you, yeah, you can go into the movie. We've spoiled quite a bit of the major scenes and stuff. This is a spoilery podcast, so the listeners by now should know what they're getting into when they hit this one, unless you start this as your first, which I'm sorry, your first episode is the by far heaviest one. They're not always this sad, but I'm so glad you had me watch this, honestly. Like, I don't think I would have gotten nearly as much out of the other things you suggested, as much as like they were things that I have been curious about. The fact that you mentioned this and it's what we went with, I'm really glad.
I'm glad you picked it over the other ones, though. They're also just as dark and graphic.
Okay, so yes, maybe I'll have to check them out and have you back for one of those, because I have been curious about Elfin Lied, or is that how it's pronounced?
Yeah, Elfin Lied. Yeah.
Okay, Elfin Lied. So yeah, I've been curious about that because I've been hearing the name for years, and like I love anime, but like I haven't really dove into a lot of things that aren't really mainstream and until this podcast. And it's been really cool. Like Wolf's Rain, I went back and rewatched a bunch of it after we did the episode, and I still have the opening theme Stray in my playlist and stuff. Like it's such a banger song.
Oh, it is. That is a good banger song.
Yeah. Anyway, thanks for coming on, and it's been a blast getting to talk to you. I definitely didn't expect such a heavy conversation on Hey Anime, but I'm really glad we got to do this. And if you are curious, go check it out. The movie is great. It's just really heavy, and that's the only reason I hesitate to give it my full recommendation. But I do think it's great. Like it's just the content, the heaviness of the content that makes me hesitant. So I'll give it a half recommendation. If you think you're strong, go in and watch it, and at least check out the bombing scene on YouTube, because like it will open your eyes to like how fucked up all this shit could get if somebody decides to drop another one of those. Yeah, so that's pretty much it for today. If you guys want to check out my other shows, you can check out Fandoms on any major podcast provider. We also have a few more shows coming up, like Following the Long Trail, a Cosmere reread podcast, as well as Oddly Fascinating, a history comedy podcast where I will be co hosting, mostly cracking jokes while my buddy Ty talks about history. If either of those sound interesting to you, I hope you guys check them out. And you can also find us on pretty much every social media now as Fandoms Pod. We also have a website now that'll be linked down below. And if you guys want to take a minute to do our sponsorship survey, that is going to be linked down below. It will definitely help us in the long run. We'll be able to get some sponsorships, pay for more editing, and release more content. We're also hoping to get Patreon going. So if you want to help speed that up, you can jump on for the dollar tier, and there's a few benefits as well as some exclusive content coming up. We also have TikTok now, which is new. My TikToks are very cringy. I have no idea what I'm doing on there, but if you want to go laugh at them, go ahead. I feel weird doing them. Rebecca, is there anything you want to say before we get out of here?
No, thank you for having me, and hopefully you don't have any nightmares tonight.
I think the nightmares are done. I've had a few days to really soak this movie in. I honestly, so I guess one last little story about it. So after I watched it, I was up till 3 a.m. that night. I don't know if it was related to the movie, but I could not sleep. I wasn't particularly thinking about the film at this time, but I got up to go get some fresh air at like 1 in the morning. I live at a mining camp right now, and the chef just happened to be getting up for some reason. And we kind of walked out of our rooms at the same time, and half asleep, he looked at me and he goes, "What the hell are you doing up?" And I was like, "I don't know, I can't sleep." And he's just like, "I knew you seemed off today." And I was just like, "Yeah, I don't know. I was just tossing and turning all night. And I don't know, maybe it was the movie, but like, I don't know. It did get to me.
I guess that's maybe another warning. It will get to you.
Yeah. So be warned. Anyways, that's it for today. Thanks everyone for tuning in. We'll see you next time. Thanks for listening. If you like the show, make sure you follow us and rate 5 stars and share it with all your friends. If you'd like to be a guest, email us at pod.fandoms@gmail.com. Or you can message us on Instagram, Twitter, Blue Sky, or Reddit. You can also join our Discord to chat with other fans, suggest questions for upcoming episodes, or find out about our new shows dropping soon. If you want to be super deadly, you can join our Patreon as well. Thanks for all your support. See you next time.